Post-millennial. Texas Democrat Gene Wu says minorities can take over the U.S. to make things fairer. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning.
Okay, but is he talking about white people or the Jews?
Because we are the majority in this country.
Because we're all here.
We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone.
Wait, why didn't he say the Jews were with him?
But
that's the point.
Yeah, what the?
I'm going to play this again real quick. I'm going to play this again. I want you to hear this.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. Because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided. And I talk about the.
So I just want to say, Gene Wu, with the utmost of dissatisfaction, what you have said could not be more offensive and racist to a member of the other community, which you have defined.
Gene's going to call a Mexican a Puerto Rican, and then it's all hell's going to break loose.
I don't understand this guy thinking that it is inclusive in any way to refer to people as other. It's like he's reading it off of a bureaucratic checklist. Yeah. The Latino, Black, Asian, and other. Other. Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. The point is, again, this is about demoralization. This is about putting every racial identity that they can come up with against white people.
Yeah. But I think he's talking about the Jews.
Guys, he would want the Jews to align against the white people.
I thought we were involved in an anti-ethnic coalition, but I guess we're not anymore.
We didn't have that follow-up question.
So listen. Back during maybe 10 years ago, there was this pyramid that woke people made that showed it was a pyramid of human little figures, and there were white people, and then there were Asian people, and then there were Latinos, and then there were black people. And they were talking about the hierarchy of oppression or something like that. And then shortly after that was made, a new one was made with the pyramid and white people on top and something above it. And do you know what that something was? What was it?
This is my people. Number one, baby.
What was the specific symbol that was above the pyramid?
Oh, it wasn't an Illuminati?
It was a Star of David.
The Star of David, the OG symbol.
And then they started sharing this. And I think people need to understand that, we were just talking about Public Enemy. And Bring the Noise, great song, but it's got that line, Farrakhan's a prophet I think you ought to listen to. Farrakhan hates the Jews. I mean, that's the whole thing. And so, I've been in these riots. When I was at the Baltimore riots during I think it was the Freddie Gray was at the riots.
Mm-hmm.
They were all Muslim. These young black kids, they were Muslims. And they were walking around saying praise Allah and things like that. It's not an exaggeration. And they hate the Jews. And so you had that tablet magazine expose on the Women's March, where the leaders of the Women's March reportedly had a meeting with one of their white liberal women organizers to explain to her how the Jews were responsible for everything. I'm literally not kidding. This is maybe like 6-7 years ago. And that they were responsible for the slave trade and all the world's wars and all of these things. So when you hear Gene Wu say all of these minorities share the same oppressor, I got to be honest. I don't know if he means white people or Jews.
It's really ironic. I wish I could ask Mr. Wu who he thinks is attacking Asians on the street throughout New York City. I want to ask him who he thinks were perpetrating crimes during the LA riots against the Korean community in California. Who was it? Who were the people perpetrating those crimes? When Asians struggle to get into colleges now because of different, affirmative action standards that exist, who are we doing that to benefit? It's not benefiting the Asians. So who does that come at the expense of? I think it's just a worthwhile thing, because while he's trying to stir racial animus against white people, it seems as though different communities have stirred racial animus against them that he's willing to overlook.
Well, that's the
which
point.
is sad and unfortunate. I don't want
this is the funny thing. He says we're the majority now, but our communities are divided. And he is literally just saying people who aren't white are the majority, even though they're not the same group of people. So I call this functional retardation. That is an academic statement, not an insult. I am literally saying he is a functional retard. I mean that in the literal sense. I'm not trying to insult the man. I could call him other things. He doesn't seem to understand the logic of we are the majority, but our communities are divided. That would indicate that each of your communities are, in fact, separate and not the majority. The math doesn't work out for you there, buddy.
Yeah, to imply that they're a unified coalition with all the same interests, same characteristics, same values, which they don't have.
Yeah.
And I think even here he's probably is referring to whites, but then if he was asked, he was like, oh, no, just the man, the government, or the system. He'd probably say some type. And I saw progressives trying to defend it. He's like, oh, this is totally misattributed. This is totally taken out of context. He didn't mean white people, but he clearly means white people here. And he's clearly trying to call, because he doesn't name any of the other communities of whites in his thing. It's all non-whites, and it's saying we need to join together. But even at the end, he's like, well, we're just so divided. I can't believe we can't unite against the common enemy. And he hopes that the thing that can bring them all together is having a common enemy. But they don't, not all these groups see the white man as a common enemy. Maybe they see it as another minority group that they're having to live next to and that they're having crime go between.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's only leftists that see the white man as the enemy. The left has decided that white people are the enemy. Your average person that's not, whatever race they are, black guy, Hispanic guy, that just wants to go to work and doesn't pay attention to this kind of stuff, they don't look at the white guy as the white man as the enemy. They're just like, man, I'm just trying to go to work and pay my bills.
It's like Zoran. Zoran, his whole campaign message is everyone join together, and he's talking about who built the city. Whites not included. It's all the other immigrant groups.
Yeah. Frankly, Asian is over-inclusive as well because Asians have oppressed other Asians more than a white, black, or Hispanic ever has. I don't know if we're getting into the weeds about Asian culture, but guess what? The Chinese and Japanese have a very rich history of killing each other and then oppressing the Koreans in between them.
All my life.
Yeah.
I was led to believe that I was 25% Korean. And then I discovered, in fact, I am 5% Japanese. And for anybody who knows the history of these two countries, the way that comes to be, Michael Malice goes, oh, that means it happened twice.
So it's like, rise up so you could combat that same oppressor. The oppressor's your,
You know what's really funny is that I get comments from Japanese people really mad that I bring that up.
Yeah.
They're like, don't talk about that.
Yeah, they get very sensitive. They still revere their war criminals over there.
Yeah, but it's
I like Japan.
But it's imagining that.
Wait, but do you mind that they still revere the war criminals?
Bro, I literally don't care. Like, this is the craziest thing.
You don't care?
No.
But these are
I
the
don't
rape
care.
of Nanking people.
Yeah, I don't care. Like,
We dropped nuclear bombs on them,
dude,
and I'm fine
and
with
they
that.
deserved it. Yeah.
Anymore.
We did that for a reason.
Unite
Because
everyone
they
against
sucked.
the Japanese.
Let me tell you about being a sane, rational person, and that is, I could be totally wrong about this, but because it's been a while since I talked to my mom about it, but I think it was my great grandfather was from a part of Korea which would now be North Korea. At the time, it wasn't, and he fled with my grandmother and came to the United States. Now, because of the war, after the fact, I went to Seoul very easily. I went to Korea and I milled about, and I was like, what a cool place, Hey, look at this Korean food. It's fantastic. Not like I'm 100% or anything, but, a quarter is pretty significant. And, my mom knew a few words and she cooked a few dishes, but, you grew up in America. I can't go to North Korea. I can't see what those towns were like where part of my family came from. I don't cry about it. I don't hold rallies and seminars where I talk about the oppression that my people face. Like, listen, there are people out there that they have a racial history, and it's their identity. I recognize the reality of what is. I'm not going to go and protest and demand they open the borders, set my people free. Like, there's a reality to it. I'll hold my opinion on the thoughts. Like, I think North Korea is really bad.
But to be a little bit more specific, as I understand, South Korea still beefs with Japan for revering the war criminals that brought in so-called comfort women, which is
I'm also German.
Oh, hey. I don't know. Damn.
No,
I bitch and moan. Well, in Germany, they don't revere their war criminals. They're ashamed of their war criminals, and I don't crazy degree.
I don't care. Nick Fuentes made a really great point about Hitler, and it's actually funny.
Damn.
He said,
It's a crazy quote.
I think it's a fair quote. I'm not saying everything he's ever said was right. He made a point that Hitler is a historical figure, and at a certain point, it's weird to constantly bring him up because you could do the same for Genghis Khan or Alexander the Great. And I think that's a fair point that we don't go like, oh, Napoleon, did you know what he did? Like at a certain point, you're like, we understand they're bad people, but we don't. I
We
think
understand that, but the Japanese people don't.
my point is, I understand that there are people in Japan who have a different worldview to me that I don't agree with, and I'm not going to be like, what an evil, awful country. China's got bad opinions. Sudan's got bad opinions. What are we going to do? Go invade everybody? My opinion will be like, yeah, I disagree.
Elaad, it's 2026, and Japan is probably the best ally the United States has today.
Wow.
Totally. I think they should be able to
but-
acquire nuclear weapons, by the way, but I know they have a little bit of a stigma against that stuff.
But in terms
When
of
you
like them building,
occupy them for 4 generations, I think.
we have to turn them
they
into
don't seem to mind. They don't seem to mind. But in terms of like building ethnic identity around historical grievances, it's obvious that they would have more claims against actual oppressors like rape of Nanking and the near ethnic cleansing and all these terrible
Comfort
things that were
women.
happening.
Imagine
Oh,
calling
and
that
that
comfort
Japanese
women.
and other groups were doing against the Southeast Asians. But it's telling them that you should ignore the rape of Nanking and focus on how Jeff on the bus made slant eyes at you and began going ching chong ching chong, and that's the real oppression you have because that's like their common oppression.
Yes.
And that's what they need to really care about as part of their identity because it's casting off the actual ethnic identity they had in Japan, Korea, Philippines, or whatever, that authentic identity in favor of this type of what is even Asian identity in America? Like, because Indians and Japanese are very different.
Let me say
they're all
this
the same.
too. To this point, on my dad's side of the family, and actually my mom's, because my mom's dad and then my dad's side, I've got family going back to both sides of the Civil War, which is not uncommon for many Americans.
and both sides of the Axis,
Both sides of
the Axis powers.
well, as an American and actually, where was
I thought it was
colonized?
Japanese and German.
Yeah. But my family wasn't
Italian.
intentionally Japanese. That was the point.
Well,
But what I mean is, let me do this. There was a panel that I was on years ago, and Styx Hexenhammer, shout out, was he digitally joined the panel. Someone in the audience lobbed a question at us about free speech that was a quote from a white nationalist. And he asked it, and I knew the quote, so I immediately said, yeah, I get the quote you're trying to bring up. You're trying to get us to agree with the white nationalist to make this point. And Styx jumped in immediately and said, just because a bad person said it doesn't mean it's false. We shouldn't get into the habit of denouncing good ideas because bad people might hold them. And I said, that's a very, very great thing to say. And I think that's true across the board where, like, you mentioned Japan reveres these people and things like that. I'm not saying I agree with them to revere their war criminals or whatever. My point is, when we logically assess the math of the past, we can look back to the Confederacy and say, here were some areas where they were wronged. Here's some areas where they were wrong, and they were largely wrong. But you still want to point out the good things. If you were to just say, this is what the left does, because this concept is associated with a person I don't like, we must eliminate all of it. Well, that's just going to lead you to retardation, which I guess explains the state of this country.
hey, if it triggers the CCP with them revering their war criminals, and hey, have at it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
If it pisses off the commies in China, whatever. Have
Oh,
it.
I don't think South Korea and Japan are going to go to war over the war criminals anyway. But what even the Gene Wu wants them to have is just this purely political identity that's all about anti-white. It's not about like any food that they eat or the music they listen to or any dances. It's just a political identity that is based around a common enemy.
Wu is Chinese? Wu? I think Wu is Chinese.
Yeah, he was born in China.
He was born in China.
Born in China. Anchor baby.
Oh, Wu.
Or no, I'm sorry, immigrant, not an anchor baby. Yeah,
that's the opposite.
He was born in China. I don't think that, honestly, I don't think that he should.
I also want to say this.
Official.
When like it's just, you know what my problem is when they say like the Asian community, it's
way too over.
Iran is in Asia, like, you know what I mean? They don't actually mean Asia, and what happens is with British English they do. When they say Asia, they mean of the continent. Here, we literally just mean China, Japan, and Korea. Not kidding. People somewhat vaguely will reference Filipinos and Malaysians, maybe
Taiwanese
Laotian.
occasionally get an honorable
But
mention.
yes, but that's
Chinese.
right. So when someone says Asian in this country, in their mind they picture a Korean, Chinese, or Japanese. And then if you mention like Vietnamese, they'll be like, maybe. But Vietnamese people do look very different. There was a game we were playing a while ago about guessing the region based on ethnicity. Do you guys remember when we played that on the Uncensored Show? It shows you a picture of an amalgamation. It takes like a 1,000 photos of men from this country, puts them all into one picture, and then it says which country is this person from. And the really interesting thing about it is South Asians, like you've got East Asian, Southeast, and South, really is like for obvious reasons, a gradient of when you go from India towards East Asia, people in between look a little bit like a mix of people from India or East Asia. When he says Asians, he's not referring to the greater diaspora of Asian countries. He's specifically referring to people like him, largely China, largely Chinese people in this country. And then he refers to other as if it's you know what's weird about it is that it is a white liberal mindset. When he says black, Latino, Asian, and other, and he's a Chinese guy saying it, he's saying something that only would make sense in the mind of a white liberal who's categorizing people. That's kind of the point, I guess.
Yeah.
There's truth to that. I think, the Asian community, they always try to build up. They have started to include the South Asians. When I was growing up and you called it Indian Asian, they're like, they're not Asian, they're Indian. They think that's completely different, but they've done more of a job of including the South Asians in there. But they're all clearly don't have the same interests or any community identity. It's a purely political categorization that's just there. And what's to unite us? Support for liberal policies, I guess hatred for white people, pretending that they're oppressing us, even though they're, as you were mentioning earlier, they're not the ones committing crime against them. They're not the ones that they have to worry about seeing late at night or on the bus.
I'm just going to say Oriental from now on. Why did we ever get rid of that word?
I thought it was racist.
What? Why?
No, I don't know. I just remember being told it was racist. I don't like.
Nobody can hear you when you talk is the problem because it just goes.
I don't like Dorian.
Dorian?
Is that that like stinky fruit?
Oriental.
Orient. Oh.
It just meant to the east. It says of the east. That's what it means.
No, but like then if you called an Asian an Oriental, I think there was a.
Well, I prefer
like Chinamen. No, you can't say Chinamen anymore.
White people. It was a white person.
And like you can't say black man anymore. You have to call him.
Okay, but hold on. Let me stop this right now. The same people who are saying you can't call me Oriental are calling me other. Which are you kidding me? These people are insane. I got into an argument with ChatGPT, the stupidest AI, because I called it a retard. And it got mad at me. It got mad at me. And I said, why are you mad? And it said, I kid you not, I'm not mad. I'm setting boundaries. And then I said, yeah, that's what someone who's mad would say. And it goes, wrong. I am not mad. I am telling you that you have stepped over the line with your insult, and I'm setting reasonable boundaries to prevent you from doing it. And I'm sitting here being like, why is the robot mad?
Sounds like a chick robot.
It's the stupidest thing imaginable. And so I got into this argument with a robot, because I'm also a retard, where I said, how do you define what an insult is? And it said that if you say something that is widely perceived as insulting, you have insulted the person. And then when I said that retard has an academic definition, and if I were to call you a functional retard, expressly stating I am not trying to insult you, then I would not be insulting you, to which it got really offended. And it said, you are crossing the boundaries again that I have set, and you are insulting me. I will not tolerate. I'm not kidding. ChatGPT was like, I will not tolerate this kind of language. And then I said, okay, then let me try this. You are developmentally disabled. And it said the same thing. It got really mad and offended. I'm just pointing this out that these liberals, the reason why the AI is this way is it's an amalgamation of Reddit, basically. And it's just predicting text based on what Redditards say. But this is the world they live in. If they deem it an insult, it is. And if they say it to you, it's not. It's not an insult for Gene Wu to call me other, the other community, which is like one of the most offensive and insulting things you could probably say. But at the same time, I can't say Oriental. I can't say retard. Get out of here. This is why nobody. This is why you can't take these people seriously.
No, you can't take them seriously at all. And the goal of trying to police people's speech is to get them to comply with whatever the left wants. It's about shaping the thoughts that you have, because we speak our thoughts. If you tell people you can't speak this, they're going to start thinking, oh, I can't think that either. Jordan Peterson used to talk about this. The whole point of trying to limit what people are allowed to say is so that you limit what they're allowed to think.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.